Look at verses 5 through 9. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. This is incredible. He just goes, oh, don't worry about that. God was in control of it all. Yeah, it was really evil, but God meant it for good. For the famine has yet been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on the earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. Okay, so the sons of Jacob, let's pause right here. The sons of Jacob end up becoming the leaders, the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? And these are Joseph's brothers. So the future of God's chosen people, the Hebrews, the Israelites, the Jews, their fate is in the hands of Joseph. But Joseph realizes that this line that God had promised that Jesus was going to come through one day, this line is in my hands. And they would have died if God didn't send me here. And now I've got the power to preserve them. I've got the power to save them. So this is a huge roundabout way. This is how God gives grace to the entire nation of Israel. They would have been dead. Then Joseph delivers them. They go on to be the 12 tribes. And then Jesus ends up coming through the line of the Jews. And we all get saved. So if God didn't put Joseph through this, you and I wouldn't be here this Sunday because Jesus wouldn't have come through the line that God had promised he was going to come through. But he says, so that I may keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not tarry. Joseph just essentially says, come to me. Come to me. I'll give you grace. Come to me, and you will get the refuge. You will get the rest that you've been longing for. Come to me, and you'll get the refuge that you actually need. So we see the refuge of grace. It's protection. It's not just gentle in dealing with us, but when grace is in action, it's a refuge for us. Because God is the one who holds up the walls and the boundaries and the protection. Imagine the richest and the most powerful person in the world. Get that, whoever that is, or if you just want to make one up. The richest, most powerful person in the world. If they are your enemy, your son, right? If they're your enemy, your son. Because if they want to take you out, if they want to take everything from you, they can. But if they're your friend, you're hopeful. Because if they want to take care of you, if they want to provide for you, they can. They've got the ultimate power. They've got ultimate resources. And so herein lies the story of Joseph and his brothers. Joseph is the second most powerful man in the world, next to Pharaoh. And Joseph has all of this power, all of this wealth, and his brothers are in a lowly state. He owed them destruction. I mean, if you just want to say an eye for an eye, he owed them destruction, or at least slavery. But he gives them refuge. Joseph could have been their biggest enemy, or he can also be their greatest ally and their greatest comforter, their greatest provider, and that's what he becomes. I will use all of my wealth and all of my power to protect you, to be a refuge for you. Herein lies the same story of Jesus and us. Jesus is a terrible enemy to have. Anybody say amen to that? Amen. You don't want to be against this guy. I mean, he's God. He controls everything. People come to arrest him. I love this scene in the Bible. People come to arrest him. A big mob comes. Jesus says, who are you looking for? They say, Jesus of Nazareth. And he says, I am. And everyone falls down. Just like, everyone falls to the ground. Then they get up, and Jesus says, who is it you're looking for? He is Nazareth. And he says, I am. Then he goes with him. Jesus is never out of control. Jesus is always in control. Jesus proved that many times. There's a storm on the sea. He's sleeping on a cushion in the bottom of the boat. He's not caring. His disciples wake him up. Do you not care that we're perishing? He says, where's your faith? Peace be still. Says the waters are dead calm. You don't want to be against this dude. Jesus is the greatest enemy you could have. Jesus, in the end, Jesus wins. I mean, it may seem like, I don't know, it's a big struggle, like Satan, Jesus, people, Jesus wins. Every time. And Jesus wins in the end. So Jesus is the worst enemy to have because, honestly, but we've all made him our enemy through our sin. So we're in the same position that Joseph's brothers were in with him. The most powerful, the most resourceful person in the universe, I've made my enemy. But what does Jesus do to us? Jesus says things like this. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The ultimate one in the universe that we have divinely offended, that we have spit in the face of, that we have constantly said, no, I will not do it like you have said. I will do it like I want. I am king. You are not. The one who owes us death and destruction comes to us and says, just like Joseph, come near to me. Come down to me. I'll give you rest. This is grace. This is the refuge of grace. And this, I want this to be freeing. And I know many of you have heard this idea that grace is this refuge or shelter that Jesus says, come to me, you can rest. I know many of you have heard it 100 times. But if you're anything like me, you need to hear it 101 times, and 102 times, and 103 times, and 1,000,000 times. Jesus didn't come to you and say, do more, try harder. Jesus comes to you and says, it is finished. Come and rest. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. Yeah, he does have a yoke. He does have a burden. And we do follow Jesus. We are obedient to Jesus. But the reason the burden is light and he is so gentle and such a refuge for us is because in the end, it is finished. The work needed to be done for our eternal salvation, for our redemption, for our adoption, that's already done. But Jesus says, it is finished. Come and rest. Yeah, get to work, but it's restful work. You don't have to justify yourself. You don't have to worry if I'm pleased with you or not. I am. Because I'm the reason God is pleased with you. Some of you so desperately need to be freed from do more, try harder. Not that you need to do less or try less hard, but you need to be freed from that being the banner that's over your life. You need to know Jesus says, it is finished. Come and rest. There's nothing you can do to make yourself more acceptable to me. I've done it.